Hey folks, Ben Graves here, Associate Professor of Music at Volunteer State Community College. We are focused on the piano keyboard here because I'm going to take a stab at explaining music theory. And this is best done at the piano keyboard. So the first thing I want to show you, if you've never noticed, the piano keyboard has a recurring pattern of 3 black keys and then 2 black keys. And this recurs along the length of the piano keyboard over the 7.5 or 8 octaves or so that the piano has. So if you realize that those 3 and 2 black key groups are repeated up and down the piano, then that will help you make sense of it. Luckily here, my daughter had put the note stickers on the piano keys, so we've got those to help us. So normally what people learn on the piano first is C, middle C, not this one, but middle C is actually right here. The musical alphabet is A through G. So we have A, B, C, can't see that one anymore, D, E, F, those are wiped out too, F, G, and then you repeat. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 7 alphabet letters, and then you repeat them. And there are 12 musical notes in the chromatic scale, 12 different notes. So in addition to the 7 white keys, we have 5 black keys, and those are the groups of 3 and 2. And again, here we can see 2 groups of 3 and 2. So we have more or less 2 octaves in the camera. Okay, so there's this crazy symbol or kind of legend, like map legend, that is very helpful in learning music theory called the cycle of fifths. And it looks like this. Hopefully I can get it all in there. It's easily, you can find it easily on the web. Google cycle of fifths. But what's cool about this is that it puts the keys in an order where sharps are being added one at a time. You can see if you go to the right, the first key after C, which has no sharps or flats, all white keys. The first key after the all white key of C is G, and that has 1 sharp. Then the key of D has 2 sharps or 2 black keys. A has 3 black keys. If you move in the other direction, the same thing happens with the flat keys. F has 1 flat key, B flat has 2 black keys, and E flat has 3 black keys, and so on. So I'm going to take you through 2 or 3 of these keys that don't have that many sharps and flats. The other useful piece of information that you might want to Google are the scales. Just find a chart of the scales. I'll try and link this in the comments of this video, where you can see what notes are in the scales. And there are logical patterns to how the sharps and flats are added if you learn them in the order of this cycle or this diagram. So I'll walk through a couple of keys here with you. So the key of C, sometimes we call it the people's key because it has no sharps or flats. It's all white keys. And the C is easily found on the piano. It is always to the left of the group of 2 black keys. So here we have the 2 black keys together. Immediately to the left of them, we're always going to find a C. And I apologize, this piano is out of tune. So knowing that that's C, and we know that all the notes in the key of C, in the C major scale, that's what we're learning here, by the way, are major scales. All the notes in the key of C are white keys. There are no black keys, no sharps or flats. So it looks like this. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That one's pretty easy. Don't worry about the fingering or anything. The goal here now is to try and learn the notes, the names of the notes in these scales. I'm not teaching you guys how to read music. I'm teaching you the language of music, sort of the spoken, sung language of music, not the written language of music. That's another part of the language of music. But this is music theory. This is the language. 12 different keys. And in order to learn those keys, you have to learn the major scales associated with those keys. Each of those major scales starts on a specific note. So that's the C major scale. And by the way, the formula for the major scale is whole step, and a whole step is 2 half steps. A half step is the smallest unit of measurement on the piano keyboard or in Western music. So this is a half step, this is a half step, but this is a whole step. So the formula for any major scale is whole step, half step, and you'll notice in the key of C there's no black key between that third and that fourth note, the E and the F. So that's where the first half step occurs in the major scale. Whole step from D to E, half step from E to F, whole step from F to G, whole step from G to A, whole step from A to B, and half step from B to C. And if you know that formula, you can craft any major scale just knowing its starting note or its tonic or home note. Let's go to the key of F. We'll move to the left on the cycle of fifths and add 1 flat. So that 1 flat, by the way, is going to be a B flat. So here we have whole step, F to G, whole step, G to A, half step, A to B flat, whole step, B flat to C. Again, a whole step is 2 half steps. Whole step, C to D, whole step, D to E, and half step, E to F. So there's that familiar major scale sound. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Right? Should sound hopefully familiar. And so we've done the scale or the key that has 1 black note that's a flat, the key of F, B flat. The rest of them are white notes or natural notes. So let's go over to the sharp side of the circle of fifths and learn the key of G, the G major scale. So if you find your G, the G, I neglected to mention that the F is always immediately to the left of the group of 3 black keys. So these are your sharps, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp, which can also be thought of as G flat, A flat, and B flat. So immediately to the left of that group of 3 black keys, you have an F, always and forever. Now let's go to the key of G. G is always found between the first and second black keys in the group of 3 black keys that occur together. So the G major scale has 1 sharp, and it's F sharp. So the G major scale sounds like this. It's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Again, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. You might just want to memorize that pattern. Whole, half, whole, half. And that will get you there if you know where you're starting from. Now we could go back to flat keys or sharp keys from here, but this might be a good stopping point just for you to digest this and stare at these circle of fifths for a while and be confused until it sort of starts to gel. But if you understand the number of sharps and flats that are in each major scale, and or you have a chart of the major scales, you can really start to figure all of this out. So again, if you find this circle of fifths online, and it's a Google search away, you'll begin to understand how it organizes the keys logically. To the right are the sharps in increasing number, and to the left are the flats in increasing number. And keep in mind that you only have 5 black keys, and they go by different names. The 1 flat in the key of F is B flat. That can also be thought of as A sharp, but is much less common. The 1 sharp in the key of G is F sharp. That can be thought of as G flat. The 2 flats in the key of B flat are B flat, the tonic, and E flat. And that E flat can also be thought of as a D sharp. The key of D, you have an F sharp and a C sharp, and that C sharp can also be thought of as a D flat. So again, there are only 5 black keys. Those 5 are F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, also known as G flat, A flat, and B flat. C sharp and D sharp, also known as D flat and E flat. And then you have your 7 natural notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And between those you have your 12 notes that we use in the Western musical alphabet. And the rest of it is just sort of organizing them and memorizing them and coming to know all this stuff. And then you will ultimately be musically literate. More to come.